again, everyone. Welcome back to another sneak peek for the InfoSource Capture and IDP conference coming up in September 6th and 7th in Chicago. We have with us today our keynote speaker, who is Gary Fowler. He is CEO, founder, and president of GSD Venture Studios, and he is an expert in AI and AI investing. And we're very excited to hear his keynote in the next couple of weeks. Gary, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you very much.
Now we're going to start off with a little bit of a simple question. I was just personally curious as I was reading through your bio. What drew you to AI investing and originally starting an AI company?
Well, so when I was in graduate school, I'm a psychologist, and I had a chance to do institutional research. And when I got on the mainframe computers and the mini computers, I just got fascinated to think about when these systems, these tools, the software, the hardware's going to be equal to the processing power of the human brain. And I started to imagine the possibilities, and this was many, many years ago. And what happened is I never forgot that thought. And as we've gone down through it, look where we are today. We're inundated with information. We're in a state of infobesity. And so having the right kind of tools out there that are kind of like your grandmother, that love you and care about you and help you to cipher through all this information is going to be critically important for our future.
Absolutely. So, obviously there's a lot of hype around artificial intelligence right now. What is everyone getting wrong about AI?
Well, first of all, they don't understand it. And they don't understand how far we are ahead of where they think we are. They're 10 years behind. I mean, think about it. We're now in a capability with generative AI that we can do incredible magical things. We can get down through and write books in a matter of minutes. We can get down through and do articles. We can look through legal documents and get a tone of what that legal document says so we can make the right decisions. Essentially, what we have is a companion, an assistant to be able to help us in life. We can do things like multi-calendar scheduling. So it's all about, the infobesity. Think about it, in your world, you get about 300,000 items in your personal cloud. The entire web in 1996 was 257,000 websites. You have more information in your personal cloud, the entire web. The problem is your own world is following the same trajectory. But that'll mean it's doubling every year. In 5 years with the Internet of Things, you're going to have 10 million items. Think about this. You're a smart guy. But how many times in the last 2 weeks has somebody said, I sent you a message? Did you get it? Where did you send it? Did you send it to LinkedIn? Did you send it to Facebook? Did you send it to Telegram, Signal, or your 7 email accounts? The next thing you say is, where did you send it? Well, I think your email. Let me check. I can't find it. Will you send it again? Now, this challenge of infobesity or of information overload is upon all of us today. And it's not just about individuals. It's about corporations. So the companies that look forward and use tools like generative AI, like Bard, like ChatGPT, to be able to help us to be able to solve these complex problems are the companies that are going to be the winners. And oh, by the way, this is going to happen very, very quickly. It's not like it was with the internet. It's not like it was with e-commerce. It's not like it was with bots. This is going to dynamically change very, very quickly. I'm talking about weeks, months, not years.
Maybe we can have an AI tool to help us sort through all of those email accounts and such as well.
9 years ago we built it. So we actually created Findo. It was a little bit too early. It was a generative AI tool, unsupervised AI. David Yang and I built it, and people just weren't ready at the time. So we pivoted the company to Eva.ai, but we built that technology. So you could say a presentation from the guy from Boston, and it was so intuitive that it would go out to all your files and folders and look for a presentation. And if it said Boston, and it would bring it up. Is this right? Let me see.
That's cool. My first exposure to generative AI was about a decade ago in the fantasy football league, where the tool would write up a recap of the game and mock all the general managers for making poor decisions. A little bit more exciting and useful these days. So we're talking about generative AI, and obviously it's all the rage right now. And as you just mentioned, expanding at white hot heat and intensity. Where does it fit in the context of the IDP industry?
Well, I mean, the situation is what do we have in the IDP industry today, right? We've got a lot of documents, We've got a lot of information, and we need to figure out what we can do with it. But we also have a lot of processes inside of that information. We have a lot of potential compliance issues inside of that information. So imagine having the capability where we create a digital employee that can down through and look through all that information. And I mean literally digital employee that can look through all that information and help those companies to be able to use those documents to be able to make way better decisions. And that's available today. Some of that technology exists right now. And the companies that use that technology can imagine they're digital treasures inside all those documents. And very times, what did we do in the past? We've just stored that information. We put it out, maybe we've taken from a PDF to text, but we've never looked down through and intuitively looked inside those documents and understand relationships, where things need to be put together. Now imagine you have 100,000 documents and you have one system that can sort through all of them to find the similarities and differences and start to make, as you said with your fantasy football lid, not only give you a synopsis, but tell you what to do.
It almost the way you just described it right there, it starts to sound like a return to knowledge management from the late '90s and early 2000s. Sort of the ability to find all that latent knowledge and tacit knowledge inside of a corporate repository.
But the
Um,
difference is a difference because the difference between knowledge management is about storage. I'm talking about having the system that's intelligent enough to be able to make decisions. So we stored it before to find it. It was search and find, right? But now the situation is it's now how these intelligent, hyper intelligent systems can be like your assistant to help you make decisions.
hmm,
Imagine if you're an attorney and you need to do, you've got to go down through and do your due diligence. You've got to go down through and do discovery. Imagine having tools that could go down through and out of hundreds of thousands of documents, put together a synopsis of what's happening and tell you what you should do. These are the three things that I would take a look at. Now, that kind of intelligent guidance has not been done. It's unprecedented, but the capabilities to be able to do it have just happened over the last year and a half, 2 years.
so from search and find to search, find, and decide.
Yeah, search, find, and decide in an intelligent way. And there'll be a point in the not too distant future that we won't even have to have human intervention. It will go down through and actually make the decisions for us. So it'll help you. So somebody said, "What's it like?" I said, "Well, if you can imagine having 10 Nikola Teslas all inside of yourself, and now you've got that capability because you've mastered how to be able to use things like ChatGPT and Bard and some of the generative AI tools and the prompts. The prompts are really important. It's
Mhm.
not about the tool, it's about the prompts that you can use with the tools."
I'll settle for one Tesla inside of me. I love the point that you've made about infobesity, and I love the infobesity on your site. Can you share a little bit how you think AI will help us overcome that obesity and make us all a little bit slimmer?
Because what because what it's doing is looking at that data and it's making sense of that data. And it's telling what we need to do with it. What happens is because of this information overload, and I talk to a lot of people all over the world today. In fact, GSDs in 57 countries around the world. And inside of GSD, we have 133 portfolio AI companies right now.
Hmm.
One of the things that happens is we're inundated with the information and we have too much. I talk to CEOs all over the world. They tell me, I can't do anything about it. I know that I'm missing things, but I can't do anything about it. In psychology, they call it learned helplessness. And
Right.
we're getting to that stage where, if you don't look your email for 2 or 3 days, what happens, right?
It gets a
You
little built up, yeah.
Right, because you don't know what's important. You don't know who that important email is from, what you need to be doing with that email. Imagine you have an intelligent assistant that's like executive assistant on steroids that can go down through and start responding for you and setting up those calls using multi-calendar scheduling without having human intervention. How much time would this save? So the tools are out there to make sense of that data and to act upon that data for us in a hyper intelligent way and to look at it, like we've never been able to look at it before. So um, this information overload is now we're at a point where we can start to use these tools to be able to make decisions and to have decisions made for us using generative AI.
So now what you just said makes me feel a little bit Pollyannish about the future of AI. But so that's a good lead into the next question. You know, we all joke about Skynet and AI overlords and all of that stuff. Where do you fall on sort of that optimism dystopian future of a scale of AI? It sounds like you fall more on the positive side.
Well, I mean, the situation is, it's kind of like, I had a friend of mine, and he had a dog when we were growing up, and he used to tease the dog a lot. He wouldn't train the dog right. And the dog one time bit him really good. And, he said to me, "Why'd my dog bite me?" I said, "Well, you used to tease the dog with dog bones and not treat it fairly." And the situation is, and it's kind of like a kid, right? If you don't treat your kid the right way, love and cuddle and teach them what's right and what's wrong, what happens is you don't want to have a Ted Bundy. So, part of the situation is how we train. It's not a pragmatic thing. It's now we have to understand the relationship between humans and the relationships between generative AI and AI and how we can develop that. And, I know it's going to sound strange, but almost in an equal partnership kind of way, because in the not too distant future, there'll be decisions made that'll be beyond the processing capability of the human brain. So,
Hmm.
from my standpoint, it's how you treat it. If it's just pragmatic, I mean, humans don't do good things to each other, right? We were 200 active conflicts. This is my speech at the UN about a year and a half ago. It's technology is a tool for peace. But what we have to do is we have to treat each other the right way. And the AI, the same thing. It's not about abusing it. It's about how we can teach it to do the right thing.
So it's sort of it almost sounds facetious to say love and cuddle your AI, but it also from that training and the inherent bias aspect, it's a real thing. It could be the difference between a uh, an overly pragmatic, logical AI system and one that's a little bit more capable of nuance and caring, for lack of a better word.
Well, so we're going to see I've written several articles about empathy and compassion in these new systems. When you start looking at things like, the evolution of ChatGPT, you're going to start to see emotion and compassion start to come in,
Mm.
empathy. And so it's when it's pragmatic, I mean, we do a lot of things that aren't good, right? And so, pollution, look at it. The Indian Ocean's up 6 degrees Fahrenheit. By 2050, we have to double the food supply on the planet, and we can't increase the number of cows because 26% of the pollution is
Right.
methane gas from cows. So we got to use tools to help us to do things like get more crop yield. We got to figure out how to get it faster from the farm to the table. And we got to figure out how to do things like plant-based protein. We need these tools to be able to help us. And oh, by the way, also quantum computing. A quantum computer is 100 million times faster than as fast as a supercomputer. That means what would take 10,000 years on a supercomputer takes 200 seconds on a quantum. Now imagine using generative AI with that.
Wow. Um, all right. Well, I think we're running up on our 15-minute time limit here that we're trying to keep under. We could keep going. Fascinating conversation. Gary, thank you very much. Hope to see you and hope to see anyone out there listening to this September 6th and 7th in Chicago. Thanks a lot, Gary.
Thank you. I look forward to seeing you, and to all the audience out there. Come to the conference. It'll be exciting and entertaining for all of us. Thank you.